Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Minahan and her panel of guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for soul growth. Come journey with us through astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello and greetings, everybody. I'm Sue Minahan. This is Talk Cosmos. Today is May 4th, and it is the first quarter moon. But more than this entire dynamics that we're experiencing this month of May is a rebirth. It involves all our interacting relationships with every aspect of life in many ways. It's most profound. It seems like a sleeper new moon phase as far as all its phases, because there are 8, as we'll show, but there's 4 major ones that we're discussing. Yet it's a time to imagine the future. We're rebirthing. We're empowering our values, clearing out the old, bringing new vitality, strengthening life purpose and resources. It's a journey. Okay, we're going to begin, and it's time now for Kaleidoscope Visions. Oh, and I might add, we're missing John Chinworth today, and he'll return. Okay, thank you.
Understanding the cosmic energies influencing our consciousness by the 4 major moon phases for the month, this is your Kaleidoscope Visions panel.
I'm Sue Minahan, founder of Talk Cosmos since 2018. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, consultant, speaker, writer, vibrational astrology student, Dwarf Planet University graduate, Kepler Astrology Toastmasters Club charter member. I have a fine arts music degree plus a certificate in jazz. I'm an artist, musician, and certified color energy life coach. Especially, I love mythology and esoteric philosophies.
I'm Amanda Pierce. I'm a soul-centered astrologer, blending intuition into my practice. I believe the universe is always working for our highest good and seek to empower my clients in our readings. I teach a 4-week series of empowerment-based meditation classes that connect you deeper into your own intuition and innate power. I work in communications with a passion for employee experience. I also have a BA in psychology. I'm passionate about healing and enjoy helping others create new realities and shift old paradigms.
And like the Sufi poet Rumi says,
you are the entire ocean in a drop.
Well, hello, Amanda. It's great to see you today.
Hello. Lovely to be here again with you.
Yeah. Sorry that John's unable, but we have a long history of yakking together, and I know we can power through.
Yes. I mean, it feels like we've been through a lot already in 2025. Like we survived eclipse season. We made it to Neptune and Aries. And now this is what is turning out to be a pretty big month.
It is, as you had indicated, that mystic rectangle, quite a strong pattern. It involves so many different points, and the planets kept moving. So we'll get right to it. Here we have, first off, I've brought up a slide that shows that there are 8 phases of the moon. Most people, or many times we regard that, but there are 4 major, and they're highlighted here. And I don't know if we should go through what all 8 are, or should we move on? I guess it does start always with the new moon. And then between that and the first, there's a waxing crescent. Waxing means increasing light. Then after the first quarter at 90 degrees, it's a waxing gibbous. And then there's a full moon. And then there's a waning. It goes reverse. Waning gibbous, the last quarter, or called the third quarter. And then the waning crescent. They all have degrees, and there's a range of degrees, because the first would be like sextiles and the others would be like, I'm not sure if waxing gibbous is kind of like because I'm thinking a trine. Where's a trine? A trine, I think, is in the gibbous stage. It's just a little earlier. Anyway.
It's all a progression, an energetic progression from the new moon, from one new moon to the next. These 8 phases
kind of progress together. And so we just focus on the 4 big ones.
It is true. We only have so much time within this hour, and that's the main motive. Plus the fact, I like what you're saying because it's a process. The moon, wherever it sits in your chart, is an emotional process. It tells that story. And that's the beautiful thing about looking at the phases is, what is the story right now? What am I trying to introduce? It's a deep subject. Here, yes, is the 4 that we're talking about. The new moon, which can be a solar eclipse on occasion, just like the full moon can be a lunar eclipse. And it continues through. The dates for this particular cycle would be the new moon, which was a week ago in April 27th at 7 degrees Taurus, late. The quarter, which is today happening, in a little bit after when it happens, depending where you are, because it's is in Leo, right in the middle, almost the world point, 14 degrees and a minute of Leo. Then in a week will be the full moon in Scorpio. It's going to be intense. It's always emotional. And we're trying to reground to that. And that'll be on the 12th at 22 degrees Scorpio and 12 minutes. And on the 20th will be the 3rd quarter, and it stays in a fixed sign, which is most amazing. Normally, I've been noticing that they go into the next modality, but it's going to be at the very end, last degree of Aquarius, 29 degrees, 43 minutes of Aquarius. And there aren't any out-of-bound planets where everybody's within their archetypal realms. I mean, with not accentuating the extremes of archetypal realms, we might say.
Yeah, we've had a lot of out-of-bound planets these past few months. And now that everything is back in bounds, we're operating within our understood realms. And we've gathered all this information from these out-of-bounds places. And now we get to kind of put them into action.
Goody. I like that. Here we have the 4. We thought this might be an interesting view because of this mystic rectangle, which you can see literally that blue rectangle, because it involves oppositions, which are in the red between the 2 corners. However, it's exact because there are trines and sextiles, those connecting sextiles of 60 degrees and the trines of a flowing energy that wants to flow.
Yeah,
120.
Yeah, the mystic rectangle it's an interesting configuration where you basically have 2 oppositions that are in essence helping each other out. So each opposition each point is either sextiling or trining the other points in the other opposition. And so there's this working together and finding a way to integrate these oppositional energies. But there's so much potential to really work through it this month. It's really fantastic to see this mystic rectangle, in all 4 of these charts. And even in the last one, it's a little wobbly, like we've talked about that, but it's still there.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just a great opportunity for us to really work with these energies this month and make real change in our lives.
Yes. There are certain themes too of the planets, because we have this opposition still with Mars and Pluto. But then Pluto, as of today, goes retrograde. And that changes the dynamics, even though everything else has been up until now. We've had 3 weeks or so of all the planets direct. So they're direct and they're not out of bounds. We're making our plans. And now we're returning to reassessing the deep part of our changes. I think that's and that begins into this Scorpio full moon in a week, where it's going to be quite our decisions are emotional. They're bound with our resources with other people, our commitments that we've made, our vows. Scorpio is very intense. Besides being a cult, and it's a why. What is the sole purpose? Is this giving me growth or not? So it's a profound time.
Yeah. I mean, with Uranus in a mystic rectangle, there's going to be some shakeups coming.
Get ready for the moment. Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm banking on that a bit. It's like, please just let it be.
Yeah.
What I can understand and work with and find a solution, because sometimes I can't think of it. The universe has to come up and show me.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's with so much potential tension coming forward in our lives, like the more we can kind of be fluid and flexible, the more that it's really going to come together for us.
I'm glad you brought that up, because in this mystic rectangle with all that flowing energy, those oppositions, they actually create what we've talked about before as this point of Thales, not to bring up too much astrology, but it is a triangle. And amazingly, of course, you can see that there's actually 4 of them. And just as you pointed out, it's that the 2 ends that are opposite, and the adjacent point that is in that flowing connection is the resolution. You can work it out. But here, from what I've been understanding, it's very important to really resolve what these 2 things that we're looking at in opposition, whatever they are. It doesn't have to be us, but it's 2 things, according to vibrational astrology, that we're being presented with. It's like this versus that. And how are we finding that balance? Well, I put this slide in because it's Venus and the Sun that begin to migrate. And we'll see how that works, that are these points. Here we have the new moon that was just last week. It's a seed point. That's why we call it the Taurus Moon Cycle. And it was on the 27th. Archetypal symbols went into depth last week. You can find out. And Venus is the dispositor that is answering to it. It's at 7 degrees and 46 minutes of Taurus. Here is that mystic triangle, and it has the north point in Pisces with Saturn almost to a minute, and Venus. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, let's start with the new moon in Taurus itself. And this is a new moon that people generally love. It's such a kind of a yummy, grounded energy, and it's really sensual. It's like of the 5 senses, like you're just tactile. And so tuning to the rhythms of the earth, the rhythms of your body, these are really good for a Taurus new moon. And then working with intentions around patience and being present and trusting in correct timing. These are great for this new moon period. That said, there's quite a lot of dynamic energy here. So this is not a typical Taurus new moon.
But I love what you just said about trusting what might not be, what timing may not be working. So in other words, rather than forcing, it's that patience. It's that patience quality of Taurus. And I also thought too, to realize that there's a orb, because my husband, for instance, has 2 degrees moon in Taurus. And it could be that this new moon has been really, I can see some impact there, or it goes up to 12 degrees. It's liberal. It can even be more, because a moon can go up to 10 degrees. So it can be really the first half of Taurus, especially if it's one of the luminaries.
Yeah, if you have any fixed points around 8 degrees, give or take, like you said, even up to 10 degrees difference, this could be strongly impactful. And really, if you see any points that are related to any of these signs, so, the late fixed degrees and late mutable degrees,
Yep.
these are
endings
all,
and beginnings, very
yeah,
transparent of what's happening. And I might add, just before
impacted.
because we'll go into some other aspects here, is that by working with that new moon, which is a great way to start, that we are trying to find a direction. And it is a matter here of the relationships. Juno is relationships. What's our deep alliances that we're finding? And we're working with that Saturn to find what's essential and what's our values that are inclusive, because Pisces wants to be inclusive. It's a large, energetic, where the womb of everything is the last sign. But it also could be perhaps of the underdog and not to be the martyr, because it also has with the South Node in Virgo, our routine could be changing in the day. What we prioritize could be changing. It could be maybe on a broader scale. It's complex. This is essentially a complex mystic rectangle. But
yeah, and if we just look at there's the Uranus opposite Juno, and then we've got the South Node, and then with all of that Pisces energy, like you were just saying.
Mm-hmm.
So Uranus opposite Juno, Juno's about commitments and soul contracts and how we merge with power and partnership. So, and it's in its home sign, like this Juno in Scorpio, that is the energy of Juno.
Intense.
So it is intense, and it can be enmeshed as well. So Uranus is always wanting to break us out of those patterns that aren't serving us anymore. It wants to liberate us. So we're trying to find that integration point where we can be liberated and be in partnership, in commitment. And it's determining whether, are we in that place? Can we work with the energies that we have? Or do we need to make a change? Do we need to make a break?
And I think this shows how Venus is being so impacted, that conjunction there, because we have exact, as we know, within that mystic triangle, the Saturn that is trine Juno. So we are really looking at what's core to those vows, those commitments that we've embraced ourselves with. But also here we have, it's weak, but it's applying all month. This another flow between our values and our actions, and the actions are in Leo now. And as if, okay, we'll move on. We'll try to get to that first. I don't know if you can hear the coffee making. There's a coffee maker in the background here, but I hope you can't. At any rate, we do have that new moon is also making a T-square. That means an action oriented with the planets of transformation right now. That opposition that we've been experiencing and will be between Pluto and, this is happening as of last week, remember, and Mars, which is, it doesn't happen overnight. So we're really trying to integrate. And then again, with that opposition, we have quite a few conjunctions that are really, and whenever there's conjunctions, this is not just a simple add it to the cake recipe. Sometimes the cake doesn't taste too good. There's too much salt, maybe. That happened as a kid. I accidentally mixed up the sugar and the salt. Beautiful cornbread. The whole family's sitting there. I'm so happy. I'm a kid, 10 years old or something. And oh my gosh, all together we spit it out. It was really gross.
Yeah, sometimes these energies aren't so tasty, right?
Yeah.
So, but the universe is wanting us to figure out how do we turn it into something beautiful and delicious.
And with Chiron and Eris there, it's our wounds and inclusive, what's been left out. I was also reading somebody, well, it was a class that I'm tutoring, and somebody mentioned, I thought this was so brilliant, that with her Chiron and Eris, that she had remembered to include all of herself with her wounds. I mean, just to include all of herself. So I think that's a mission.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
and Venus rules this moon as well. The moon's in Taurus, and that's a Venus sign. So Venus is a big player, and it's been going through her journey. You know, she had moved on into Aries and then retrograded back now in Pisces.
Oh, yes.
You know, and when moved over Saturn and is now come direct and moved across Saturn again. And so there's this maturation that's been happening with Venus.
Oh, I love that. Maturation with Venus. Oh, that's marvelous. And we're walking that path until I believe the 15th. So it'll be just, I should have written these down. I get so many numbers in my head, but it's definitely up until the full moon. We're in a process. I could check it pretty quick.
Where Venus moves
the third,
Aries,
the shadow path. No, the shadow path.
Oh, okay.
Because it's going to, as of today, she's moved into Aries. Maybe we should go on. We will go on and see. Oh, well, here we have the point of Thales. Just following the slides a little bit again, folks. I had brought that up. It's a wedge also, and it's where you have this opposition. And the third point has that creative outlet for that stressed opposition. Thales of Miletus was a Greek philosopher and mathematician. And in particular, besides this mystic triangle, there is with Venus and Neptune working with that opposition. So we have quite a bit of.
And we've been working with this Mars-Pluto opposition since last fall. This is the third go-round. And previously, Mars was in Cancer, Pluto was in Capricorn. This time around, Mars is in a stronger sign for itself, Leo. And I think that's making a big difference. It's still intense. There are still power struggles happening in our lives, but Mars is much better placed to kind of take on the energy of the Pluto. It's just an energetic of like David and Goliath, and Mars is David. And it's against all odds has an opportunity to kind of stand up against that power and take some of its power back.
Importantly, Adam Gainsbourg, who was a couple of weeks ago, people on Planet Buzz, brought up the fact, because I think we both listened to his workshops, and he is such a great teacher in so many dimensions, and he really is involved with Mars, and he realizes that when Mars emerges as a morning star and then declines to an evening star after there's a long period, and then is invisible for a while as it's under Earth, we can't see it at night, and then emerges again, and he has a cycle. Well, this cycle started, looking when it's visible in 2023, and at this point it's at its 10th portal, you could say, since it emerged, and it's in a Capricorn cycle, even though the conjunction was in Scorpio with the sun, but it emerged as Capricorn. And so on the 10th one, which I think relates to what you're saying, it's our individual self-expression to find its limits and how we impact and others. And the challenge is to be just us in a larger design. So isn't that really interesting? Because it corresponds with Mars in this transformational opposition with Pluto. But on the other hand, the new moon ruler, as your Venus, is guiding us through. Well, we don't have too many minutes. We're supposedly, which is fine. I love all how we've explored, and we'll get to everything. But maybe we should touch a little on the first quarter. That's today. It's a crisis in action. So all of this that we've been feeling now has another touching point, touching stone, you could say, until we get to the full moon in a week. It's a waxing moon. It's increasing light. It's right in the middle of Leo, so it's in a fixed sign, So it would embrace on both sides a good 8 degrees on either side.
Yeah,
or 5 degrees.
The first quarter moon is that crisis in action energy. So there's more of a yang energy where we're taking outward action. And in Leo, it's about taking like that bold, authentic action that's based in love, creativity, whatever your true expression is.
To remember, yes. How do I feel good? It's especially with the political world, none of us are in a vacuum. Well, few of us are. I know some people that really don't get involved with any news at all, but unless you're those rare people, which is fine, no problem. We can feel compassionate, especially with the North Node in Pisces, about so many things. But here, what I'm getting at is, like Wayne Dyer, that's what I'm remembering. He'll say, there isn't enough sorrow that you can feel to fix somebody. It's important to feel good so that you have the capacity to be of assistance. So that's why I say, and he says, ask yourself, do I feel good? He says that's akin to the source, because that's where we came from.
Yeah.
So
and
listening to your heart. That's my long
beautiful.
story.
And really facing your inner doubts and self-trust issues. Those are big Leo pieces as well. So really, operating from the heart. I love that, Sue. That's beautiful.
We'll end, because we're just about now to take our little break, but just to remind people, today is the 4th. Whenever you're listening to that, we're still probably within this first crisis, crisis of action. Crisis of action. That's it. It just means that there's a action point that we're working on, but all the planets are direct except for Pluto. And that will be it's stationed today, but as of the 5th, it's actually retrograde at 3 degrees, 49 minutes Aquarius. And it goes for about half a year until October 14th. And it goes back to 1 degree, 52 Aquarius. And that is going to be quite a event of working with all this. Well, Amanda will return in just a momento.
See you soon.
Okay, thanks everybody. Stay with us. While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We're currently in the period of Taurus. By leaving a cycle based upon initiation, the energy of Taurus integrates spirit into a solid form of matter that is tangible and physical. It's an earth sign, concerned with self-sufficiency and the values to maintain the strength of a life form throughout its survival.
Talk Cosmos brings insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for the soul growth with hour-long programs. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. And to find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com. So grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to the Ananda Institute of Living Yoga, we cover the world of animals. This week, May 11th, it's Best Neuroenergetic Balancing, Rasmussen Reset, and Energy Code Sunday on Animal World. Dr. Nels Rasmussen and Sister Linda Rasmussen join us, and together they can help you or your animal friends with emotional, behavioral, or physical issues. Hope you can join us and plan to call in. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
An alternative to everything else on your radio dial. Alternative Talk 1150.
Hi, Amanda. Before we get to the next part, I just checked. As of today, we're finished with the Mars shadow path. In other words, we have come up to 6 degrees Leo, that it began way back in, oh my goodness, it was October, or was it September? I should know. But anyway, back in the fall, it was October in the fall that it started in its whole shadow path. Then it was in Cancer, but in December, it went into Leo. So at any rate, we're out of that path, but Venus, we're still walking that path in Aries until the 15th, 16th of the month. So that answered that. Let's see what we have for today with this crisis in action, the first quarter at, oh dear, I didn't change the top part. It should be 14 degrees Leo. Oh dear, all the details. Okay, well, this is the mystic, and it's pretty much the same as we saw before. There's not too much, except that the North Node is exact now. Instead of Saturn, it's the North Node is exact to Juno. So we're now trying to really figure out on that direction.
Yeah, Juno and Uranus. So this is
yes, very good.
It's quite an exact mystic rectangle. And so everything that we were talking about previously and Ceres is in there as well. And we hadn't really touched on Ceres yet. And she's conjunct the North Node, just coming up to it, and she'll be conjunct Saturn as well. And Ceres is the great mother. She's nurturance and our relationship with food and with grief, the cycles of loss and return, and she holds a lot of earth wisdom as well. And so we're really coming into like a more grounded, wise, and responsible caretaker for ourselves on our spiritual path.
Nurturing ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes. Very
nurturing our spiritual path. Like, is this providing sustenance for my spiritual path, for where I'm going, for my creativity, for my connection with the universe? There's all of that coming forward here with this. And it's in a mystic rectangle, it's opposite that South Node. So we need to reflect on what can we let go that isn't serving us here.
That's exactly what I was journaling this morning, just prior to meeting here. Of course, I love Cosmos. We've done this now. It's the 7 years solid in the 8th season, going on into the 8th year. And yet, how do I shift some of the details so that I can open up and have more creative time to write, to etc. Do some music, other things that I so love. Yeah, it's a whole journey. But Saturn is helping us, and Uranus. It's in that sextile that's so important. And really it is, and I think too, here it is a matter of using the source. For me, however it is, whether it's meditation is beautiful, to really get to work with the invisible. It sends some kind of signs in the moment to help you.
Yeah. And Saturn, it's structure and discipline, and it's also karma. It's what have we worked through at this point that we can let go of, that we're ready to shift into the next stage, next phase for ourselves. It is taking that responsibility and really owning your piece in where your journey is going in this lifetime. And as much as we're doing like with that spiritual piece and the releasing through the South Node, that's impacting our Uranus Juno journey and how we are in commitments and our relationships. And the more we're working on liberating that, the more it's impacting our spiritual journey. So this is how they all work together in this mystic rectangle. And that's a big theme for the whole year or the whole month.
Good key words: responsibility to liberate. Beautiful. There are these conjunctions, the moon and Mars are conjunct, that means Mars is helping us cut away some of those, the old stories, the old habits, the moon, that the moon is always telling us that part of our life that is our foundation, but we always have the ability to reshift it if we're willing and taking the time. It's a process. And the moon's also I'm trying to move so we can get through here too a little bit. The moon is by itself in this T-square, another opposition with Vesta, our hearth, and our identity, the whole part of ourselves. So it's our whole part and our emotional part.
Yeah. And Mars is technically, a little further away, but it's still impacting the moon. And so there could be quite a bit of attention during this first quarter piece, but action is really like where we want to.
Yes. Going to our values. And that trine is increasing. As of today, yesterday, Venus is in Aries, as we said. So we were talking about it earlier when it was in Pisces, but now she's in Aries. So it's a fire to fire. It's instinctive. So we can begin to get these steps, how to work with this other part of us, what makes our hearth. So it's almost like two different things going, but it's working.
Venus in Aries, this is an action energy, and she actually actively pursues what she desires. And there's a strong individuation here. So Venus is also, we're in a snake year. So I'm bringing back the snake.
Good.
And in a snake year, the snake is associated with Venus. And so we look to Venus and when she shifts. And a snake is in a snake year, it's about staying calm under pressure and only striking when the timing is perfect. And this is that Venus in Aries is one of those periods where we can really take action if things have lined up for us.
Oh boy.
Correctly, so yeah.
That's powerful. Yes, that's powerful. Whatever I was thinking, you brought me into deep territory. It is, all of this is deep. I'm thinking Pallas, just to bring up this particular slide here, is a strategist. So part of that alignment is involved with some strategy, but she's in Aquarius, so she's a bit detached, which is a good thing. You can get too entrenched sometimes with how it's responding to other people and to our past and everything that gets involved with our commitments. But
it brings a nice, both Jupiter and Pallas bring a nice airy energy, meaning there is a little more detachment. The mystic rectangle, in particular, it's earth and it's water. So there's a lot of emotion and a lot of sensory feeling involved with it. And so this air kind of gets us to step back a little bit from that, which is helpful.
Yes. For Talk Cosmos, this is usually at the half hour and we're a little bit, but anyway, just to mention that in the past, there was the planet buzz about Adam Gainsbourg and Mars, this opposition that we've been talking about so much. I also have on occasion this current events, you could say, and we focused on China, interestingly, and also the U.S. court, which just experienced, I was amazed, in March, its Saturn return in Pisces. So that has some fascination to it. And if you're interested more in looking at the Taurus new moon, look at the last week, which we again imagine the future. Next week will be Jason Hawley with Planet Buzz, and we're looking at that epoch, turning point, Saturn at 0 degrees Aries. And then the next week after that, there will be the dwarf planet octaves with Melissa Elvira Billington. And we're going to look at 3 planets. It's involved and their octaves, which are all changing right now, Uranus, Saturn, and Jupiter. Meanwhile, thank you everybody for subscribing, of course. And just to remind you, there is going to be a vibrational astrology conference on Labor Day weekend. So check it out, Fractal Cosmos. I'm back with Amanda. And I know what it was. It also, I meant to mention, I apologize to everybody because I did not, if you look at those past slides, it's not the Cancer first quarter, it's the Leo first quarter. So I will, as we brought up, because we're in the fixed signs and I neglected that detail. Here we have Scorpio, 22 degrees, 12 minutes Scorpio, next week on the 12th of May. And it's an Eastern time. Mm-hmm.
Don't be scared by all the lines in there.
That's right.
A lot of activity, but
this is just showing some of the complexities if for those people that want to look at it. But it's almost at 1 o'clock, 12:56 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And for those people that do think modern and traditional, it has co-rulers. Pluto in Aquarius for the modern. It is that opposition, and Mars in Leo. So.
Yeah, it's quite a potent full moon, and especially a Scorpio full moon is always pretty potent. It's got a lot of emotional depth. It's dealing with intensity and power struggles. And this one, it's got a mystic rectangle in there. It's got a Mars Pluto opposition. So we're really dialing it up a little bit here.
Yeah. Thankfully, Mars is moving away somewhat, not as intense, and especially now since Pluto is retrograding. So we have Mars can act on its own. It's out of its shadow period. But look at that mystic rectangle that we just be. The full moon is involved exactly in it. The moon has aligned with Juno, which is so great because if we have alliances, we have some emotional commitment in Scorpio. So it's like, what can we untangle there and clarify? And if we're working on day-to-day, what gives us self-reliance and our values and our financial and our resources, our talents for the moment, for self-reliance, well, the moment and changes that are occurring with the sun that we can thread it through is powerful.
Yeah, the moon is conjunct Juno. The sun is conjunct Uranus. This is really bringing all of these energies into a more personal space for us. So if we haven't felt it up to now, it's probably going to hit home at this full moon. And, a full moon it's the brightest in the sky. So it's illuminating, and we often get clarity on where things are in this lunar journey.
And the Mercury is going to help us. Our thinking powers will help us. There are friends. Always. There's allies, you could say, in the cosmic consciousness. And here, Hermes, Mercury, the connector, what connects us with our ideas, our thoughts, our communications, and all of this, it is grounded. It's in Taurus, but Mercury is exactly in a square of activity orientation with Pluto of our transformation. And that trying to figure out what's our new hearth, Vesta, what is putting, because the hearth in ancient times is where they would put the goddesses and the gods that they wanted to honor, what consciousness they honored, like what's really of value, of importance here. And then Jupiter, we can't forget Jupiter. Maybe you want to talk about that particular square. That's very dynamic. It's working with the nodes. Do I go this way? Do I go that way? How do I put them together?
One point about that Mercury, Pluto, Vesta, the Vestal Virgins, they kept the hearth fires alive 24/7, never letting them go out. It was essential to keep that fire burning, and that represents, Vesta represents the fire within us. And so there may be a piece here where we're called to speak in our power in order to keep that fire alive. Speaking about Jupiter square the nodes, this is a period where we're figuring out if we're aligning with a new direction for ourselves. It's more expansive. It's reevaluating what we believe in and why we believe it, and kind of looking at how our beliefs influence our karmic direction. So there's like a big potential shift here. And again, this is all lining up with that energy around what are we releasing, what needs to go that isn't serving us, that's not nurturing us, that's not something that we value, and that's not the more mature place for us to go on our spiritual journey.
Now, pruning creates health. It allows a plant to live. Here we have also what are we trying to connect during this whole process that we're doing actions. And again, it has a lot to do with this Chiron Eris. How are we really remembering to involve that which we may feel as a wound, which represents Chiron, the wounded healer, but it's alchemy, because really that can be perhaps one of the most special parts of ourself. And by including it into our story with that philosophy, of Jupiter, is very strong. And also, I might say Venus is connecting stronger to Mars. That relationship between them is helping us along. Shall we move on?
Let's do it.
Okay. Here we have Yods, the finger of God, added into this power dynamic with Scorpio Moon, full moon, that is illuminating what is growing and what do we need to really cut away, which Scorpio can do. Scorpio's like, nope, hacking it. It's got to go.
If a Scorpio full moon with a mystic rectangle involving Uranus wasn't enough, let's add in a couple Yods. Two Yods, which would be called a Yod storm. Anytime you have more than one Yod, it's a Yod storm.
You're queen. I'm going to write that down, the Yod storm. Oh, goody.
Yeah.
The times are new verbiage. Yes.
Yeah, and Yods can feel very intense and sometimes disorienting because the energies just don't line up. There's two quincunxes and for each, and it's challenging to do that integration.
I put the circles around the two that are mutually involved. So it is our Chiron and Eris. It is like, let's get all of us. Don't leave part of us on the train track. Put it on the train. Let's keep moving. And the other is our emotions, the moon, and that's the big part, those two. And they're in a quincunx, which means neither one is really in alignment with the other, and they're both a growth process. It's where we need to grow and develop each one. So we need to acknowledge that this is a story that has merit, that is going to take some time to develop. It's not just irritation, and it is until we manage to focus on it to let each one develop. So what are our commitments, those responsibilities, as you pointed out, that Saturn is helping us understand, that have value to us with and what part of it have we left behind that we need to bring on board?
Yeah, and one of the ways to work with a Yod is to be fluid. It's like moving like water and choosing inner alignment over controlling your circumstances, because you just never really get on top of it with a Yod. You just have to, it has to come from within. And Sue, you were mentioning that before about Wayne Dyer, like, are you aligned within? And then
does it make you feel good remembering that part of it? Yes.
And is it coming from within? Because everything emanates out from that. And so that is the best that we can do in a Yod situation. And so we're working with the aligning with the moon, our emotions, with Vesta, what brings us that fire inside, and then Chiron, healing our wounds around being courageous and taking the next step forward for ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's very strong. And remembering that we're getting help, and we'll see that so that'll be in a week. And in 2 weeks, we'll get the third crisis of consciousness, which I kind of flipped to. And that's where Venus and Mars are really now finally all month kind of getting in alignment. We've been working through all of these emotional issues of, I love this, on the inner self that you're reminding us that it's fluid, though, to keep working with the responsibility to get liberated. So here we have the third quarter. It's Crisis in Consciousness, May 20th, at the very end of Aquarius, where the sun is at 29 degrees, 43 Taurus, but the moon, this is the lunation that we're talking about, is at the very end of the fixed sign of 29 degrees, 43 of Aquarius, which wants to elevate humanity. It wants to bring up our conditions. And again, it's looking at both Saturn and Uranus. The modern ruler is Uranus. Looking here, this mystic rectangle that we've been talking about now brings in Neptune for the first time, really strongly, along with Ceres. So it is very much nurturing ourselves. And the sun, and I brought in Hygeia. Hygeia is that asteroid that is about health. And, and it can be physical in Taurus especially. So reminding that whatever we're elevating, to remember our bodies have a language. They're speaking to us. It needs to be recognized. If something seems weak in our body, well, maybe it needs to be strengthened, and that'll help our whole dimension.
Yeah, and this is the last period, very close to the last period, where we have Uranus in Taurus. It's moving into Gemini in early July. And so this is a Sun conjunct Uranus. It's a great period to really do whatever liberation stuff. We've been working for this energy for many years now, so we have a handle on it. It's just a matter of, are we going to make whatever shifts we can moving forward during this period that do help that greater embodiment, like you were just saying.
Good point, to remind people that Uranus is in a sign for 7 years. So when Amanda's speaking of many years, it's been 7 years. This is 25 since 2018, 19. It went into it went into Taurus. So now when Uranus goes into Gemini on July 7th, lightning bolts. I know Rick Levine will be here, and we'll talk about that then. That'll be quite.
Yeah, very cool. And and Jupiter, I love this. Jupiter's exactly squared the nodes. So here, like we were just mentioning, it's finding that what needs to go, what needs to stay. With Jupiter, the good stuff doesn't come in unless there's space for it. So you've got to let go of some stuff. It's just that's the physics of it. It's got to, in order to allow it in, something else has to leave.
Oh, that's beautiful with these nodes, because Virgo is the details, and it synthesizes it. There's a word. It chooses what to put in there. But Gemini keeps gathering. So the fact is, we're building a new belief system.
Yeah.
I love it.
Right. Gemini's incredibly curious. And so it wants more and more and more. But we can't keep holding on to what's not serving us.
And Pluto is helping us transform that with all of it, which is great. And then we have Saturn.
And the gods too. Like there's just a need to kind of give up control. And Virgo it's often trying to control on the mental level, even though it's Earth. But
discerning, that's what I was saying. It's discerning, yes. But
at
here
its
we
best.
have, yes, at its best. Yeah, that's a beautiful part of it. And it's releasing for the next 18 months because it's in these nodes, which for any of us with strong Virgo is quite a new focus. How do we reorganize our thoughts and whatnot? But here, look at this, how beautifully finally, the fire signs of Venus and Mars are really helping us with that. We have a yod. We only have about a minute or so. we have thoughts here. And again, this is with that whole factor. We're putting together the strategy of our emotional elevation that we want with the moon, and we're realigning what's important and what's not to have our wounds.
Yeah.
There you go, Amanda.
And that crisis in consciousness, that third quarter, it's about integrating all of these changes. And I love the Aquarius moon for bringing that a level of correct detachment for it.
Yes, that is so good. Indeed. Oh, Amanda. We're just at that crisis of action. We still have that full moon ahead and the consciousness, but I'm feeling like the voyage is going to have results. It's going to manage to work with the moment. We're going to make it.
Yeah. It's a month of following your path and your purpose and aligning with the flow of the universe.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Blessings on your path. And we'll see you next month.
Thank you for joining an insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Minahan and her panel of guests awaken consciousness by connecting soul growth patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.